Bitcoiners, welcome. Welcome, Bitcoiners. Welcome, traders, followers, supporters, subscribers, haters, Bitcoin negators. Everybody's welcome. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what status you consider yourself as, a Bitcoin supporter, hater, negator. It doesn't really matter. Everyone's welcome. Every time zone in the world is welcome. All four corners of the earth, welcome. Let's talk our favorite topic today, Bitcoin. And specifically, this is a topic that I actually promised you quite some time ago and was not able to deliver. But now's the day. All right, we've got the time. So come on in, make yourselves comfortable, guys. Grab the beverage of your choice. We've got some tea coming. And maybe even grab something to take notes with. I like to take notes during sessions like this. But boom, yes. Let me know very quickly before we get started where you're piping in from. Where are you from? I know there's just a few people sort of trickling in now, but where are you from? What part of the world are you from? 97 people so far and counting. Where are you from, guys? All right. I do want to say that my initial post or announcement of this session was actually wrong. Guys, I travel in so many different time zones and parts of the world that sometimes I get my times mixed up. So I was off by an hour, but I really wanted to start this live session at 2 p.m. I think my original post stated 1 p.m. I apologize about that confusion, but here we are, guys. It is 1 p.m. my time and 2 p.m. Eastern time. All right, so I see Hawaii. Hawaii is in the place. Hawaii, Arizona is in the place. India is here. Nice. All right, Northern Virginia. I love it. I love it. All right, who else? Where else are you from, guys? Where are you from? Where are you from? We got India in the house. Hawaii is in the house. Northern Virginia is in the house. Arizona is in the house. Yes. Colombia is in the house. It's me. All right. Now, I do realize that Miami's in the house. I do realize that not everyone, for whatever reason, can post, at least in a way where I see it. Now, I think that might be connected to whether you follow me, have notifications on, or some stuff. I don't know, but I do get some of your comments, and obviously those are the ones, at least during my live session, that I'll be able to see and interact with and engage with. Okay, Switzerland is in the house. All right, welcome, Switzerland. Cali. Now, Cali is, there's two, like some people refer to California as Cali. I'm in Colombia, so a lot of people know that there's a city in Colombia called Cali. So I don't know which one that is, Hash, but you're welcome, of course, no matter where it is. All right, Australia, down under. Good day, mate. All right. Okay, so listen, this live session today, I'm going to actually delve into my long-term Bitcoin value model. That's right. It is going to be we're going to deal with a model that has a USD denominated price, even though that increasingly becomes less important as we progress in the Bitcoin journey. I'm very much aware of that. But we still live in a USD denominated world. And there is some small benefit to structuring models and things in USD terms, just because we're still rooted in a USD denominated system. Now, before I go into this my long-term value model, I want to say a few things up front, which I think are extraordinarily important to set right up front, to make clear right up front. Number one, all models suck. Okay, let's just put that out there and get it established. All models freaking suck. Even this one, even mine, they all suck. Now, does that still mean that no models should be structured or made? Not necessarily. Okay, but there is a small value in having a model, understanding that it sucks. All right. All models are ultimately broken, especially when it comes to Bitcoin. But that doesn't really mean you should have nothing. Every traveler should have some guide, some map, if you will, even if they understand this map may not be exactly accurate, but it's something. You know, it points me north. Okay. I know where north is. I may not know where every little dot is on the map, whether every little dot on the map is accurate, but it can help me know where the North freaking Star is. And that's all map models do. All right. As long as you are directionally correct, the detailed accuracy of a model means quite little, to be honest with you. As long as your model ensures that you are directionally correct. And I've mentioned this so many different times. There is I believe that there is an over concentration, an excessive focus on specific numbers, even though we're going to talk numbers today. But those are less important than being directionally right. You don't need to nail a number to change your life and your family's life and the future of those not even born yet in your bloodline. It doesn't take a specific number to change all of that for the better. It takes being directionally right with no number. So as long as we get the direction right, your life can be changed and improved. Your wealth can be increased quite substantially, just being directionally right with no number. There is a small benefit to having numerical frameworks. This is just the way our minds work. Okay. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. All models suck, including this one, but there is some small benefit to having some map, some structure in your mind to work with. Okay. As long as that's clear. All right. We can start. So let's go. All right, let's go. Okay, get some slides up here. Boom. All right, my 20% long-term value model. I call it, like, for short, my BTC capture model. And I'm going to tell you up front that this is extraordinarily conservative. And I believe that most models should lean toward being very conservative. Okay, let's go. I'd rather be surprised on the upside than the downside, right? Before we delve into specific numbers, I think that it's important for us to start off with what I call the world's parking garages. I'm using this term to suggest that there are certain pockets, there are certain things that the world largely takes its value and stores it. There are a variety of pockets that wealth globally is stored in. All right. Some of these pockets are small, but in relationship to other pockets, and obviously, conversely, some pockets are enormous compared to other pockets. But these are all what you're looking at now. And shout out to Jesse Myers. I believe that this is his original creation. And I think I've updated some of the numbers here since his original creation. But shout out to Jesse Myers. Awesome. One of my favorite Bitcoiners. It's important to look at value and global wealth through the eyes of these pockets. It's important to do this to understand how I come up with my 20% model, value model for Bitcoin. So let's talk a little bit about each one. First of all, in the upper right-hand corner, you will see that more or less, guys, the total global asset value, aside barring derivatives, so barring the enormous derivative market, you're talking about a little bit north of $900 trillion of value. This $900 trillion of global value is largely in a small handful of pockets, if you will. One of the biggest pockets is real estate. So roughly, more or less, globally now, 330 trillion of that $900 trillion total is locked into real estate globally. And when I talk about real estate, I'm talking about all forms of real estate, from commercial real estate to residential real estate and so forth and so on, to farmland, to homes, to condominiums, which are manufactured property, man-made manufactured property in the air, and so forth and so on. This is $330 trillion. We go to one of the other big pockets of where a big portion of this $905 trillion is locked away in and stored in the bond market. Okay. And largely in government debt, if you will. This is your debt market, right? $300 trillion, more or less. Now imagine that we are still operating in a debt-based system, which means that another man's debt, what they owe, is one man's debt that they owe is another man's asset that they use to show off their worth and value. How crazy is that? Imagine if you could take your credit card bill and say, listen, I'm gonna max out my credit card bill, and it's a debt to me, but I'm gonna hand that bill to someone else, and it's an asset for them. That's what a debt-based system is. But anyway, for the most part, $300 trillion of the 905. Now, these two pockets alone represent the vast majority of that 905 trillion. Real estate and bonds, the two biggest pockets of value, stored value in the world today. If we go to the next, we have fiat currencies, all right, which I'm loosely terming money, all right, but fiat currencies, government printed paper, that is totaling, whether we're talking about the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, the Japanese yen, the Australian dollar, the European euro, the European euro, and all of the fiat currencies combined come up to about $120 trillion. This is your ultimate ice cube. This $120 trillion is literally melting faster than every single other one of these pockets that you see on this slide. It is melting by orders of magnitude faster than all the others. Yet there's still $120 trillion there, melting like a freaking ice cube. Okay. And then you have things like equities, which run around 115 trillion, more or less. Okay. So that's global equities. All right. The majority of which obviously is US equities, because the US equity market is by far the most dominant market globally. And so there's about 150, sometimes it's 120. This is more or less $115 trillion locked away in equities. All right. Another form of paper money. All right. All of these things that I've mentioned here up until now, real estate, bonds, paper currencies, and equities, in essence, they're all paper money. All of them. Yes, even real estate. Real estate's paper money, because the so-called ownership of the real estate is largely represented by a piece of paper. It is that piece of paper that is truly the value more than the physical item itself. So some people might disagree with me, but in essence, you don't really own anything. You own a piece of paper that says you own something. Bonds, a piece of paper. Fiat currency, a piece of paper. Equities, a piece of paper. And when I first started playing the markets, and back in the early 1980s was my first start in the markets, I used to buy stocks and get the certificates of the shares that I bought sent to me that I'd have to sign and date. And whenever I sold them, I had a certain period of time to send those shares back in, signed and dated as well. My ownership was represented by a piece of paper. All of this is paper money. All right. And in many ways false. Most things that are papers are false. So anyway, real estate, bonds, currencies, equities represented by paper, those pockets, those paper pockets right there, that is the vast majority of that $905.4 trillion in global wealth. You have smaller groups like gold is at 15 trillion. All right, maybe a little bit more. I've mentioned this on many occasions. Nobody really knows what number is real with gold. It's not like we had, certified public accountants 6,000 years ago monitoring every single ounce of gold that's ever been mined. It's not like all the gold in your home right now, from your bracelets to your wedding ring to your earrings, have been accounted for. I mean, it's impossible for that number to actually be real. Nobody really knows what the number is. It's a fake number, but we have to use what we have. So roughly 15, 16 trillion, more or less. Okay. Then there's art, which is at 18 trillion. So there are people throughout the world, and I used to do this as well, which is to store a portion of their wealth in art. And one of the reasons why art became a very popular form of wealth storage, if you will, is because art is very subjective. So it became strategic to use art because of its subjective value. And art is a lot easier to transport than gold, and it's a lot easier to get out of a country. So it's very difficult to transfer a lot of cash out of the country, especially if you're dealing with a country with cash controls, money controls and things of that nature. But to send a piece of art is a lot easier. And who's to say that this piece of art's not worth $1 billion? Because the value is subjective. So I can play around with those numbers a little bit just because of the subjectivity of art. And there are a lot of tax avoidance and sometimes illegally invasion tactics utilized with art. But it is a pocket where a decent portion of wealth goes to be stored in ugly ass arts. Okay. And then of course you have collectibles like, watches and things of this nature. All right. And that's running at roughly, what's that number? It's a relatively small number, but these are all of the pockets that largely exist for the world's value, with the bottom layer and that equity portion on top being the vast majority. All right. So good to understand. Now, total running just a little bit north of 900 trillion in global value. Now, my model is based on Bitcoin demonetizing each and every one of those markets by just 20%. Now, I told you that my model is going to be, in my opinion, extremely conservative. And Bitcoin only demonetizing 20% of each one of these boxes is almost asininely conservative. But I'd rather be more conservative than not. Okay, when it comes to models, that's just my approach. I'd rather be more conservative with my price models than aggressive. I'd like to be surprised more on the upside. If I can live with the conservative, then I'm golden. Okay, so we're going to use this 20% price model. We're going to take every single group and over time say $3 trillion. So we're going to say 20% of every box goes to Bitcoin. Why? Because it is superior by orders of magnitude to every single box on that chart we were just looking at. So 20% of gold's overall total box value, that comes out to $3 trillion going into Bitcoin. Gold, $3 trillion that used to use gold as a store of value, boom, switches to Bitcoin because it's a better store of value by orders of magnitude. Art, 20% of that represents 3.6 trillion. Collectibles, 1.2 trillion is 20% of the total collectibles market. Now let's get to the big guys. All right. Equities, 23 of your $115 trillion locked away in equities goes to Bitcoin. Let me just tell you this. In late 2020, early 2021, I had gold. Listen to me carefully, guys. I was a gold bug almost my entire adult life, largely because my father was a gold bug his entire life. And I grew up in a sound money household with my dad talking about gold being the only real money that ever exists my entire life. Do you understand? When I got into the world, into the Wall Street world and began to make money, this was my mantra that the money I made was not real money. That was temporary money to be converted into real money, which is gold. My gold accumulated over the decades largely fell in physical gold, held in different, my gold was held in different vaults around the world, all right, from London to New York, Hong Kong, a variety of places. Now, the interesting thing, if you're into the gold space, what you understand about physical gold ownership in privately held custodians around the world is that you bypass a reporting requirement. You see, this is not illegal. This is absolutely illegal. All gold held privately in a private custodian in another part of the world loses the obligation to report. Now, you're still responsible for reporting any sale of the gold, but you are not reported. You are not responsible for reporting on that gold in that private vault. So you bypass reporting requirements and you increase your privacy by orders of magnitude. So the gold bugs obviously know this, would make their fake money and transfer whatever they didn't need to real money in the form of physical gold ownership. When the spot Bitcoin, when the spot gold ETF in late 2004 came into existence, I also began to stack very heavily with paper gold as well through that, and did extraordinarily well. In 2020, late 2020, I finally realized, the epiphany hit me, that Bitcoin is orders of magnitude better than gold. It's improved on every single aspect in every single way. It has made up for gold's failures and so forth and so on. So I made the almost gut-wrenching decision to sell every single ounce of my gold. It took me months to do this, and I ultimately put it all, every single penny, every single gold ounce into Bitcoin. All right. Now, I tell you that story to say this. Do you think I'm the only one? Do you think I'm the only one who has sold all of their gold or some of their gold for Bitcoin? Do you think that? No. Do you think I'm the last one to ever do this? No. Not only am I not the only one, not only am I the last, not the last one, I'm not. There will be, every single year, the number of Oliver Velez's that sell their gold for Bitcoin will only increase. And so I bring you back to this number. Gold, $3 trillion. I want you to listen to this sound. All right? Listen to this sound. Okay? I'll do it for you like this. Okay? Listen to this. I want you to listen to it carefully. Put your ear to the whatever, wherever your sound's coming from. Okay? And do that. All right, listen to the sound. That's the incredible sucking sound of Bitcoin, right? Sucking value out of gold. That's that sound. Sucking value out of gold, sucking value out of art, sucking value out of collectibles, sucking value out of equities. Guys, I'll tell you another story. I have held a number of positions for as long as 40 years. I've had Eli Lilly. I had Eli Lilly for over 40 years. I had McDonald's for over 40 years as a stock that I constantly added to over decades and had up until this very year. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, a ton of them. I have, for the last 4 years, have been paring down decades long portfolio holdings of these equities. And where do you think that's gone? To my bank account? You think when I've pared down 85% of my Amazon holdings all the way back from 2001, you think that went to cash? You think that went to this box here? You think that went to that green box to the right? No, it went to that little tiny orange box in the upper left-hand corner to the left. When I sold my gold, right next to it, see the gold box? Decades of accumulating gold. When I sold it, where do you think it went? To the green box? Did it go to the blue box? No, it went to that little tiny orange box right there. And that is what the world will increasingly experience. And it will be ramped up by the hour, by the day, by the week, by the month, by the year, and certainly by the frickin' decade. That number's only going up. The number of people that are going to switch a portion or if not all of their value to Bitcoin is not only going up, it's going up by orders of magnitude, and it will go up for the rest of your life. Every day there's new ones making the switch. Every week, every month, every year, every decade, until you die. This is a movement that will never stop. This is a trend that will never halt in reverse and go the other way. Never. Not in your lifetime, not in my lifetime, not even in the lifetimes of your children. So this is extraordinarily important to understand, because I want to show you how conservative I'm being by using only 20%. That's ridiculously conservative. Okay? Ridiculously. Okay. Now, real estate, we talked about equities, 23 trillion. I did the gold. Oh, guys, I forgot to tell you the story. I forgot to tell you the other story. I had 298, not 300 because I kept two, but I had 300 Patek Philippe watches. I was a Patek Philippe watch collector all the way from the 1980s. All right. I'd accumulated 300 of these very specially selected watches. Now, I don't know if you know about watches, but I've always been a scarcity guy. What I loved about Patek Philippe watches, right, was that they were so scarce that it made Rolex seem like a shit coin. Let me give you some statistics, right? Rolex at the time, it's higher now, but at the time I started my watch journey, Rolex was producing about 500,000 to close to 600, half a million, close to 600,000 watches per year. They were producing 500 to 600,000 new watches a year. Now, Rolex has been in existence since the 1800s. There was another company, Patek Philippe, right? Pateks were also from the 1800s. And since the 1800s, they have never created 500,000 watches in their entire history. So think about it. Rolex is producing 500 to 600 a year, new ones. Patek 150-year country is not even near throughout their entire life having produced 500,000 watches. Which one's more scarce? Which one's going to hold its value more? Which one's going to rise more rapidly in value? Of course, the scarcer one. What I also liked about Patek is that every single thing is handmade by one person. Every single thing in the watch, from the little dials to the little mechanisms inside. Not only is the watch and every single item on the watch, in the watch, handmade by one person, it is the machines that they use are handmade. The tools that they use are freaking handmade. So this made this watch very, very special to me. Again, long story. I tell you this long story to let you know that that box I sold too. I took 298 of the 300 Patek Philippe watches. I auctioned them all off in a bunch. You couldn't buy one or two. You had to buy the whole thing. You had to bid on the whole thing. I did very well with that. Guess where that went? That's the collectible box. That went, let me show it to you once again. That went to that tiny little orange box in the upper left-hand corner. Once again, that incredible sucking sound that Bitcoin produces. Sucking value from gold, sucking value from art, sucking value from collectibles, sucking value from equities. So I had the equity being sucked, my equity portfolio being sucked into Bitcoin, not all of it, but still going. My collectibles box being sucked into Bitcoin. My gold box being sucked into Bitcoin. And I had 22, I wish it were 21, that would have been cool, 22 different properties. I'm down to now 5 globally, from 22 to 5. Where do you think that went? To the green box? The little tiny orange box in the upper left-hand corner. My point is that I'm not the only one doing this. There are Oliver Velez's born every single hour, every single minute, every single day, every single week, every single year, every single decade. And the numbers of Olivers doing this are only going to increase. Every single time I open my mouth, there's a new one, if not a bunch of new ones. Some of you start doing the same thing every single time I speak. Every single time. I know it. Every single time I speak, some of you dip into that green box and it gets sucked into the orange little box in the upper left-hand corner. Some of you are planning that the next time I sell my Microsoft stock, I'm putting it in Bitcoin. Every single time I speak, I know I am helping to create new Oliver Velez's that basically look at the ultimate money being Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the money that you play the stock market for. Bitcoin is the money that you work for. It is not a means to a money. It is the money. It is the win. All right. Anyway, let's continue, shall we? Shall we? Shall we? So if we take, guys, right? If we take the bonds 60, guys, bonds over the last couple of years have had its worst performance since the 1800s. Think about this. You don't think that a lot of bond players have started to make the switch from bonds to Bitcoin? They've had the worst period since in hundreds of years, since the 1800s. 60 trillion of the 330 trillion, or whatever, I'm estimating will go to Bitcoin based on my 20% price model. And of course, currencies at 124 trillion. All right. I used to keep in fairly sizable amounts of cash and cash equivalents as the base of my total portfolio. At the base was cash. Okay. And cash and cash equivalents. not just dollars, cash, mostly cash equivalents. But I pared that down by about 90% and moved it into Bitcoin. That melting ice cube, which we're trained in the traditional world to just accept that it just melts. No, I moved it into Bitcoin, 90% of it. And so if we take the 20% totals from each and every one of these parking garages of the world's wealth, these are the parking garages or the pockets of global wealth, we come up with $180 trillion. Now, Bitcoin is only a $1 trillion market today. We're talking about 180 to 181 trillion. It's 1 trillion now going in. What does that tell you about the future? If I'm right, and I believe this is very conservative, then this 180 trillion going in is going to have a profound effect on the existing value of 1 trillion today. To me, this is the freest money you will ever have access to, the freest win that you will ever be exposed to in your entire life. This is the easiest win. This is the freest money, the freest wealth, the easiest wealth. Well, easy is too strong a word, but the simplest, I should say. Simple is not always easy, and it's available to everyone. Okay. So with 180 trillion going in, let's do some numbers. Bitcoin's 20%, Bitcoin 20% capture value, 181 trillion, divided by 21 million, brings us to a USD denominated price per Bitcoin of $8.6 million. Now listen, this is the number that I want you to hold on to. Listen to me carefully. I need you holding on to this number. I want your mindset to be Bitcoin is 8.6 million. It may not reflect that now, but it's going there. Bitcoin is basically 8.6 million. Now, if you believe this, and you should, because Bitcoin's going to take way more than 20% of these boxes, guys. It took way more than 20% of the boxes that I had, and I'm not the only one, and I'm not the last one. So my point is, with this conservative number, if you truly believe that Bitcoin's going there, why would you ever sell? Like, why would you do that? I want you anchored on 8.6 million. It's too early to think about selling anything. It's too early to think about trading it in for something else. We're at Bitcoin 58,000. It's going to 8.6 million based on this conservative model. Why would you sell now? Like, why would you sell Apple in 1997? Why would you sell the internet in 1994? Why would you sell Amazon in 2022? I mean, 2002. Like, this is not the time you think about selling. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to ride some volatility and embrace the volatility, but it will be volatile. But that volatility is going to take us to 8.6 million. In fact, not only is it not time to even think about exchanging it for anything or spending it on anything or even selling it to go into another one of those silly boxes that we talked about. It's still time to just accumulate because we're so early in the journey toward that number, 8.6 million. It shows you how early we are. Now, and I'm going to take your questions, I promise, but let me go to why I keep saying, I'm going to go that my 20% model is conservative. My price is this price is literally too small. This is closer to being bearish. This $8.6 million is closer to being bearish than being bullish. I told you one of the reasons is because Bitcoin's going to take way more than 20%. And if I'm any guide, if I can be used as an example, it took way more than 20% of all of my boxes and sucked into itself as that ultimate black hole, gold hole, or orange hole. It sucked into itself way more than 20% of all the boxes that I had, all the parking garages, all the pockets. It sucked way more than 20%. But so this is the number one reason why it's conservative. Let's talk about some other reasons why, okay? Another reason why it's conservative is, look, Fidelity is calling for $100 million Bitcoin price by 2035. Guys, look, I'm just saying 8.6 million. Here's 100 million. Now, who's conservative? Compared to this, I'm bearish. Okay, let's take a look at something else. Van Eck predicts Bitcoin to skyrocket to 52.38 million by 2050 in its most bullish scenario. I'm telling you to focus on 8.6 million. They're saying 52.38 million. My 20% model is bearish compared to these. Michael Saylor recently put out his base case by 2045. Okay. And his base case is 13 million. I'm telling you 8.6 million. His bull case is 49 million by 2045. I'm telling you to focus on 8.6 million. His bear case is 3 million. That's extremely bearish. All right. But his base case, the one he wants, so basically Michael Saylor is saying focus on 13 million. That's what he's saying. That's what a base case is. You focus there. Okay. I'm saying 8.6 million. You focus there. And so this is extraordinarily conservative. I want you to live here. This is what I want you. This is how I want you to think. Now listen to me carefully, and then I'll take some of your questions. Some people ask me questions. Even some of my Bitcoiners ask me questions. Oliver, at what point do you think I should step up my Bitcoin security, my Bitcoin storage? And I'm always telling them to not look at the current Bitcoin you have in today's stated USD denominated value. I want you to assume that Bitcoin is $8.6 million of Bitcoin. Now, how much of a Bitcoin do you have? Now, if you calculate that, let's say you have half a Bitcoin. All right, so that's $4.3 million worth of value that you're holding. You think that's worth stepping up your security? You think that's worth making sure this thing is protected for life and nobody can get their freaking dirty, sweaty, scammy hands on it? I want you to live with this number. It will drive every decision of Bitcoin. It will make every decision that you ever have to make with Bitcoin sounder, more bulletproof. Do you understand? If you value what you have based on this number, and it's going there, so you might as well do it now, then you'll make better decisions regarding your Bitcoin. You'll understand that, well, wait a minute. If what I have now is worth, I've got half a Bitcoin. If what I have now is worth 4.3 million, shoot, can I make it worth more? I'm stacking harder. I'm thinking about taking some profits because, Bitcoin is now at 280,000 a Bitcoin. But wait a minute, it's 280,000 a Bitcoin. It's going to 8.6 million. What the fuck am I talking about? What am I doing? I should still be buying. I'm still that early. 8.6 million of Bitcoin. And I'm selling at 280,000 a Bitcoin. That doesn't even make sense. If you live with this number, the odds go up quite dramatically of you doing the right thing, deciding the right thing, thinking the right thing. All right. All right. So there you have it, guys. That's my long-term Bitcoin 20% price model. All right. Good. Now, let's take some of your questions. What do you got for me here, guys? Time is money, so I went out and bought a Patek. Yes. Yes. Love Pateks, guys. Love them. Don't have them anymore, but I loved them when I had them. Yeah. What about paper Bitcoin, like the ETFs? They short the futures market to suppress price. Shorting futures, first of all, guys, there's this over infatuation with shorting in the futures and all. They're manipulating the price and they're holding it back. Bullshit. The same dynamic that you think is holding the price back also during certain times helps the price move up. It's never just one frickin' sided. So we used to, in my space, in the professional trading space on Wall Street, we used to laugh at the retail people who thought that, you know, there's always manipulation and this and that, and they're controlling and the da 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 da. And really, what a lot of people do is remove the blame, move the blame from their own stupidity onto, well, they're manipulating the price, when it's really their own stupidity. There's just too much of a focus on this. And listen, I'm not saying manipulation doesn't exist, but manipulation works both ways, so it cancels each side cancels each other out. In addition to this, I had a special session on this. All right, I had a special session on this. If Bitcoin price is going to be manipulated, it is going to be manipulated upward, not downward. They don't want the price to collapse. Do you understand this, people? They want to price you out of the scarcest thing on earth. They don't want to bring it to you. The best neighborhoods, the wealthy neighborhoods that don't want the riffraff in, what do you think they do? Lower the price of the homes in the neighborhood? Einstein? No. If they don't want you to have something and they don't want you in it and they can't take it or stop it, what do? They run the price away from you. The attack on you will be to outprice your little ass, not to make it easier for you to gain freedom, to make it more difficult for you to gain freedom. Bitcoin is freedom. The attack is on. Oh, yes, but the attack is that way, not down. Let's stop being freaking ridiculous. Had a special live on this. All right. So done with this. Done. All right. Okay. Next, let's see. Do you recommend keeping existing positions in companies like Tesla, NVIDIA, or putting those funds in BTC? I was wanting to ask you this, but you just answered. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Listen, there's nothing wrong with holding other things, doing other things, but you do them for Bitcoin. You see, here's what makes me understand that you still have a lot of work to do. When you think Bitcoin is a vehicle to earn another one of these boxes. Look, when you think Bitcoin is a stepping stone to more green money. You have a long way to go, buddy. When you think Bitcoin is just another tool to get more real estate, you have a long way to go, or to get more equities, or to get more art, or to get more watches. You're still ignorant. Every one of these boxes should be used to get more Bitcoin. You're in the real estate business, you're using real estate to get more of the orange. Which one has the most potential? The orange one or the other ones? Which one's the smallest? All right, Bitcoin's the smallest. That has the most potential. Which one is the best performing by orders of magnitude? Bitcoin. Which one's the securest by orders of magnitude? Bitcoin. Which one's the most transferable by orders of magnitude? Bitcoin. Which one's the most divisible by orders of magnitude? Bitcoin. Which one is not run or controlled by any human being? Bitcoin. Which one can't be taken, confiscated, debased, inflated away, or stolen from you ever? Bitcoin. Do you understand that the qualities are so much better by orders of magnitude that it is absolutely impossible for it not to suck value out of all the others? Throughout history, the world has naturally gravitated to the superior form of money. It is not something that human beings can stop. It is innate in the entire evolutionary gene of the human species. We automatically seek out what's the best thing to move around, what's the best thing to keep safe, what's the best thing to divide, what's the best thing to verify. There's nothing more verifiable than Bitcoin in the world. There's nothing more certain and secure than Bitcoin in the entire world. There's nothing that has zero counterparty risk except Bitcoin in the entire world. These qualities are only going to continue to suck value away from all the other pockets that don't have these qualities. And there's nothing we can do about it. It's just what naturally happens every single era. It is called Thayer's law, right? Good money drives out bad money, right? It's actually pronounced Thayer's law. Go look it up, Thayer's law. Good money drives out bad money. Now, when I talk about Thayer's law, by the way, guys, when I talk about Thayer's law, I inevitably get someone that says, Oliver, well, you know, Gresham's law says quite the opposite, doesn't it? And I'm like, yes. And I say, why do you say that? And he says, well, Oliver, Gresham's law says bad money drives out good money. And this is true. There's a seeming conflict here. Gresham's law says bad money drives out the good money. Thayer's law says the good money drives out the bad money. What's missed here is the different stages of a money's evolution. In one part of the evolution, Gresham's law is the dominant law. That is, in the store of value, the bad money drives out the good money. That is store of value phase of a money's adoption curve, right? It must be a store of value before it's a medium of exchange. So let me explain this. I think this is a very important point to explain, just to clear up this conflict between Gresham's law and Thayer's law. Okay? Let's make sure here. Gresham's law that states that bad money drives out the good money, this is true, which means that this is what I did. It drives Bitcoin into cold storage, out of circulation. You store in the good one and you use the bad one to get rid of. Oh, I need eggs this week. I'm not using Bitcoin for eggs. I'm going to use the bad money for eggs and store the good money. I'm driving the good money out of circulation, and I'm using the bad money for the bullshit. Oh, I got to put gas in my tank, fill it up, $55. I'm not using Bitcoin for that. I'll use the bad money to fill up my car. I use the bad money for groceries. I use the bad money to pay my rent. I use the bad money to pay for the train ticket. Do you understand? And so it's putting the bad money in circulation, and it's driving the good money out of circulation into cold storage. When enough people have it in cold storage, as that increases, some people start to say, you know what? You want me to do this favor for you to take you to the airport? And you're going to pay me what? You're going to pay me $50 to take you and your family to the airport? I'll do that favor for you. But you know what? I don't want $50. Give it to me in Bitcoin. The person says, all right, boom, here it is. Increasingly, greater and greater numbers of people start to say, you know what? I don't want to accept the bad money for this. Give me the good money for it. All right, wait, look, guys, we're at a group I'm with a group of friends, right? With a group of friends. There's 8 of us, and we've decided that we're going to split this $4,000 bill over dinner. Huge dinner, bottles of wine, this and that, $4,000. All right, we're going to split it amongst us 8. Do you understand? Okay. So Oliver says, wait a minute, guys, you know what? I'll pay for the whole thing. I'll pay for the whole bill. Give me the bill. I'll pay for the bill. I'll even put the tip on it. Boom. Pay for it with the bad money. You guys just give me your part in Bitcoin. Do you understand that over time, you are not going to want the melting ice cube, and you increasingly are going to say, you know what? You got Bitcoin instead, bro? And then all of a sudden, Tears law starts to take over from Gresham's law. Gresham law drove money out of circulation into your cold storage. And then later, Tears law starts to do the reverse. It drives the bad money out. I don't want the bad money anymore. I'm driving it out. Give me the good money. Want me to take you to the airport? Give me Bitcoin. Don't give me the $50. Give me $50 in Bitcoin. Give me Satoshis. You're driving, now the good money is driving the bad money out. It's just a transition from one to the other. They're both correct depending upon where we are in the evolutionary cycle. But that's how those two things are reconciled. All right. That's right. I'm there too. KMA says, I already don't want the bad money. Yes. And so that's what I'm saying. Over time, the KMAs of the world, the Oliver Velez's of the world, we increase in number. And then all of a sudden, there's a tipping point where now there's more Tears law at work than Gresham's law. Thoughts on early morning, late nights of Texas Hold'em to allocate more BTC? Absolutely. If you are a professional Texas Hold'em player, and especially if you have patsies that are playing with you, take them. All right. I'm a big believer that whatever you do well, whatever value you have to deliver to your fellow man, do that with all of your might, but do it for Bitcoin. If you're the best plumber in your county, be the best plumber, but be the best plumber for Bitcoin. If you're the best brain surgeon, be the best brain surgeon for Bitcoin. Don't be the best one for the melting ice cube. That's stupid. Be the best anything. You're a stock trader. You happen to be one of the 8% in the entire world that can really consistently do this over the long term. Trade stocks. Fine. Do that for Bitcoin. Make Bitcoin the ultimate prize Make it the precious. And I believe you'll be living the right way. What are your thoughts on buying MSTR to increase your Bitcoin stack? For some, yes. For most, no. Let's face it, most people are going to fuck it up. They're not professionals. If this is your domain and you know what you're doing, yes. Because if you don't, then you're just gambling away Bitcoin. Let me just also say this, people. Whether you have Bitcoin or not, every single time you spend money on something, dollars, you are spending Bitcoin, because that could be Bitcoin. Like, you could have switched that to Bitcoin, but instead of switching it to Bitcoin, you're purchasing this. You actually spent Bitcoin because it could have been Bitcoin. Do you understand? The goal must be, I'm speaking to people in the West now. I'm not speaking to people in developing countries that are living meal to meal and having meals skipped because they don't know where the next meal is coming from. That is not who's listening to me. I know this. Promise me. I promise you. I'm speaking largely to people that this can resonate with. Your number one goal in life today should be this: to become more Bitcoin rich every single week of your life. What is Bitcoin rich? Become more Bitcoin rich every week. What does that mean? To have more Satoshis this week than last week. Today is Tuesday. You should have more Bitcoin on this Tuesday than you had last Tuesday. And every single Tuesday for the rest of your life. Some people say, well, Oliver, damn, for the rest of my life? Yes, for the rest of your life. Well, and they think that's strange. And I'm like, but how is that strange when that's what you do for the melting ice cube, the US dollar? Your whole waking hours, every moment of the hours focus on you becoming more dollar rich, right? Every day, I just want more dollars than yesterday, more dollars than last week, more dollars than last month. That's your whole life. All I'm just saying is switch the item. Let's swap out the one that melts, the one that's manipulated, the one that's deflated, the inflated, the one that's debased away from us, the one that's stolen, the one that's manipulated and controlled by a group of men, right? Let's switch that thing that we give our lives to for a more superior thing, the ultimate superior thing. Now give your life to that, and your life will have more meaning and it will have more value, because it's mathematically designed to increase who you are, what you are, and the value of what you do and what you are every 4 years for the rest of your life. It is a mathematical certainty that you will be more than who you are, and what your value every 4 years for life. And so when this becomes your ultimate goal, you begin to start searching for ways to make sure that you are more Bitcoin rich next week than last week. What makes it easier when the price, the USD denominated price, or the exchange rate based on the US dollar drops? Now it's easier to become more Bitcoin rich this week than last week. So now declines become things you hope for, not just in words and text so you sound cool on Twitter, on X, but in your heart, that you feel this, that a decline is a great gift for you, because it makes it easier for me to be more Bitcoin rich this week than last week. And this should be your goal forever. You should just swap out the green box for the orange box. Remember what that is, right? Swap out the green box on the lower right-hand corner, the money box, the fiat currency box. Swap that box out for the orange box. Now deliver value to other human beings, and whatever you get for delivering that value, put it in the orange box. Go to work for another man if you have to, but whatever you get paid from that other man, you're going to get paid in the green box. Switch that shit to the orange box as quickly as you can. You're selling some equities that you've held for the last 4 years. You're taking profits on them. Switch that shit from the equities to the orange box. Some bonds are coming due. Switch that shit to the orange box. You're selling a property that you've held for 15 years. All right. Switch that shit to the best property on planet Earth, the orange box. That's the one that's going to save your life. The orange box is the one that's going to make your family better than it ever can possibly be 4 years, 8 years, 12 years into the future. The orange box is the only box that's going to give you freedom, give you true independence, going to give you true autonomy. There's none of these other boxes will ever do that, ever. And all of the other boxes are leaking. All of the other boxes are sinking little ships. Oh, Oliver, I'm on the real estate ship that's sinking. Well, Oliver, I'm on the bond ship that's sinking too. But Oliver, what about the equity ship? I'm on the equity ship. That's been doing quite well. No, the equity ship has been sinking too. All of your boats are sinking. It's just that they're sinking at different rates. The green box is sinking the fastest. Do you understand? The bond box is sinking the second fastest. The equity box is the third fastest. Real estate box is the next. They're all sinking. In all of my professional life, I focused on being the best boat hopper out there. And I did well boat hopping. All right, now it's the real estate boat to be on. Uh-oh, that's starting to sink faster than the others. Now I'm going to jump to the equity ship. Equity, ride the equity ship for a while. Uh-oh, there's something else sinking less rapidly than equities now. Boom, back to the money box. Equities crash. Uh-oh, equities bottomed out. Now it's time to move back from the money ship to the equity ship again. I'm back. Hi, I'm back, guys. Where's my room on the ship? Where's my room on the boat? Oh, wait a minute. Now it's the bond ship. And I was a freaking boat hopper my whole career. A good one. But now we have a freaking rocket ship. We're leaving leaky boats behind. This rocket ship, or you can say this ship, if you will, has no leak. Zero. Everything you put there expands every 4 years. Everything you put there is going to that $8.6 million number I gave you. Everything, every penny, every dime, every quarter, every dollar, every $10, every 100, it's going to that $8.6 million of Bitcoin. That's where it's going. That's where it's going to expand to. It's going to expand to this number. And it's going to show it to you in your face every 4 years. Every 4 years, exponential jump in value. I appreciate your insights and knowledge more than I can say, Ovi. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. Guys, listen, you know the statistic, right? That there's for every good comment you get, there's 17 bad ones. So I appreciate the good comments like this. I really do. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Bitcoin plumber, yes. Yeah, guys, work for Bitcoin whenever you can, guys. Whenever you can, just work for Bitcoin. Just try to get Bitcoin instead of the cash. All right. And somebody said, but I don't know how to do that. I'll show you how to do it. I'll show you how to do it. Just get your phone out, bro. Just get you set up on one of these shitcoin exchanges. Make it easy for you. Coinbase, Kraken, whatever the fuck. Just get you set up. Get some cash moved over. Purchase Bitcoin. And here's my wallet. Try to get Bitcoin instead of money. Instead of so-called money, instead of cash. But Oliver, that's right. Guys, I had 20%, guys. All right. That's a good question. C is asking a very good question here. I didn't give you the date, right? So I'm going to give you 2 dates. All right. I'm going to give you 2 dates to go by, but I will make you aware of my original. when I did this for my Bitcoiners, the original date, I'll let you know. So the conservative date is to use Michael Saylor's date by 2045. He has 13 million. I'm telling you, focus on 8.6 million. Let's be a little bit more conservative. Let's not be ridiculous at 3 million. I think that's dumb. But 8.6, okay, that's a conservative number. Now, I'm going to be more aggressive with you on the number. I originally shared by 2033. That's the aggressive one. 8.6 million by 2033. Are you going to be alive in 2033? Of course you are. Now, some people have asked, well, Oliver, why do you feel that we're going to be that high by 2033? How is that possible? Because Bitcoin adds a zero every 4 years, every halving, or at least it has. And if we extrapolate that out, so this cycle, the zero that it's adding is to 10,000. So last cycle was the 10,000 cycle, believe it or not. And we went to 70,000. This cycle is the 100,000. We might go to 600,000. We always pass the cycle zero by a lot. Who knows? So if this cycle is 100,000, the 2024 cycle is 100,000. 2028 adds a zero to 100. That's 1 million. 2028 cycle is 1 million. If you add a zero to 100,000, that's 1 million cycle. And what's 2033 if we add a zero to 1 million? 10 million, 2032 cycle. So I'm coming off that a little bit, 8.6 with the 20% model. And you're right there with Bitcoin's historical accomplishments of adding a zero every 4 years. So this is not drawn out of a hat, guys. I didn't just throw a dart at a numbers board and come up with 8.6 million. This is calculated out based on several things. 20% of all value going into Bitcoin by the year 2032, 2033. Bitcoin continuing to add a zero every 4 years, which puts us right there. That's the aggressive one. The more conservative one, okay, by 2045. All right. Cesar, yes, I'm turning stock profits into Bitcoin. Awesome. That's how to do it. All right, guys. What else? Anything else? More Satoshis this week than the last one. That's the goal until I die. Boom. There you go. Alberti. Awesome. Let's see. Bitcoin, let's see what this one. Bitcoin has already slapped me in the face every time I went to make a stupid purchase. And I ended up stacking more Bitcoin instead. Difficult to explain how it works, but it is like it has a life of its own. It's so very true. Bitcoin does eventually change you. And the reason why Bitcoin really changes you from so many different aspects of your life, is because it lowers your time preference. See, the lowering of one's time preference automatically affects almost every other corner of their life. You stop being a consumer just for being a consumer, and you start to realize how much money you've just wasted on bullshit. You bought this contraption that you thought was amazing, and it did wind up collecting dust in your garage somewhere after 4 months. You buy this great sweater for $350 just because some white dude's name is on it. And then 6 months later down the line, man, it's collecting dust in your closet somewhere. You understand what I'm saying? It's like it starts to make you see life differently. And it starts to make you look at value when you start to say, look, I can put money here or I can put money in Bitcoin, and this is guaranteed to be up by orders of magnitude in 4 years. So this had better be really special. So you stop focusing on bullshit. Your decisions become sounder. You become truer, more authentic as a human being. more solid, more poised, more confident. You become more hopeful because 4 years from today, you're guaranteed to be better than everybody around you. Guaranteed, mathematically guaranteed. That life becomes hopeful now because every 4 years from today, and then 4 years from tomorrow, and 4 years from the next day, and your life becomes a constant flow of hope and joy. And that seeps into every corner of your life. People start to see it in your mannerisms. You start to take care of yourself better because you want to live to see this wonderful miracle take over the freaking world. You start to eat better. Your quality of your food's better. The quality of time is better. The type of people you start to spend time with, the things that you read and take in start to change everything just by lowering your time preference. It's quite magical and spiritual, like anything that has a profound effect on the self can be called spiritual. I know people don't like to throw that word around, but I have no problem with it. Okay, let's see. This is very true. Yeah, I think what you're saying is the end of the cycle, right? I think it's easier to communicate to people. This is absolutely right. He's do no harm is absolutely right here. If you're thinking of the cycle in terms of the end of the cycle, so boom, 2025 ends that cycle. 2029 ends that cycle, or the peak of every cycle. I like using the halving price because it's something that's so marketed today. The halving price is so marketed, guys. So let me give you an example of this, right? I did this yesterday. I've done this a number of times. I'll do it again. I have no problem doing it again. Repetition has a certain value, right? And sometimes a big one. But let me pull this up. I want to show you this. So here we go. So if I go here, a second, I'll grab it. Boom. Okay. Now we take a look at this. These are all the halving prices, right? So we see that in 2009 it was zero, and then the first halving took place in 2012. The price was $12, more or less. Next halving took place at 2016. The halving price was $653. Look at the jumps, guys. $0 to $12 is a life-changing jump. That's enough to set you, your family, and family members not even born yet up for life for centuries. 12 to 653. What kind of gain is that? That's crazy. What kind of jump is that? 653 to 8,500. Whoa. 8,500 to 62,500. So at this halving. Now, in reality, all the prices that happen in between the two white dots are really kind of meaningless. I would say that you're getting the deal of a lifetime each time you can buy under the halving price. If you can accumulate under each halving price, 4 years from now, you're going to be that much wealthier. Because every 4 years, that the halving price is substantially higher than the last halving price. And everything else in between is noise. The news articles are noise, the tweets on X are noise, all of it's freaking noise. It's halving price to halving price to halving price to halving price. If you could play Rip Van Winkle with an automatic weekly DCA and just take a nap for 4 years and wake up with your auto AI generated DCA going on every Monday night or every Sunday night, and let's say every Sunday night, boom, my automatic DCA, take a nap for 4 years, wake up 4 years later on the halving price, and I promise you, your life will be kingly better. And again, this is lowering your time preference and being solid and secure and immovable by noise, bullshit in between the white dots. It's bullshit between the white dots. Do you understand? Every trick in the book is pulled on you to get you to drop the most valuable, the scarcest thing on planet Earth. Every trick between the white dots, everything, every tool, every trick is pulled out of the hat to get you to drop this thing. But if you step back and focus, every 4 years, it's just higher and higher and higher until I die. It's mathematically designed to do this until I die, even past my death, which means I got to be careful who I pass it to. You know? Powerful. Powerful. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Fernando. What's the point of DCA into Bitcoin when it's always directionally upward? You mean you don't want more? So I like DCA because most people have some type of frequency through which or by which they earn the more melting ice cubes, dollars. So if every time you get a tranche of these new ice cubes before they melt, you should switch them over to Bitcoin. That is DCA. It's not like people get paid once in life and that's it. I never have another melting ice cube to use. That's not DCA. But if you're constantly getting periodically, every week, bi-weekly, once a month, a fresh new bunch of ice cubes, switch a portion of that shit to Bitcoin. And do it for as long as someone is willing to take your shitty ice cubes, your melting ice cubes for the thing, Bitcoin, that doesn't melt, you do it forever. You mean, wait a minute. You're willing to give me Bitcoin for this bullshit? Oh, I'll do that trade every single day and twice on Sunday, 3 times on Sunday. As long as you can get the superior for the inferior, you never stop. Do you understand this, Joey? You never stop. There's no point where you say, well, no, Oliver, I no longer want the superior thing. I'm going to hold on to the inferior thing from now on. Like, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Guys, it is reported, whether you believe this or not, it doesn't even really matter. What I was taught in school was that the Manhattan Bridge was sold for $24 worth of bullshit. $24 worth of trinkets. Pigs in a blanket, a pig in a blanket, some trinkets, some worth $24. Now, maybe it turned out to be maybe $2,400. Whatever it is, I was taught in school. I went to the best schools in the United States. And I was taught that Manhattan, not Manhattan, but Manhattan was sold for $24. The person on the receiving end of that junk that was worth $24. That's sad, no? This is the same with dollars for Bitcoin. Are you kidding me? Like, someone's willing to take a melting ice cube for the thing that is guaranteed to go up for the rest of my life every 4 years and does not melt. I will make that $24 trade from Manhattan anytime you want. Let me just put it this way. My DMs are open for any one of you bozos that wants to sell this. If you think I'm joking, I've done this. I will show you. If you want to see it, I will show you. My DMs are always open. Not only will I take your Bitcoin off your hands for the melting ice cubes that I currently have, I'll even pay you a premium. I'll give you more than you can get on Coinbase. My DMs are open for all of you bozos. Don't believe me? Try me. I'll take your I'll give you the $24 and you give me Manhattan. I'll do it every time. Sorry, guys. Oh, good question. I will answer this for the, how many times have I answered this, guys? How many? Several millions of times, but I'll answer it again. No, guys, listen, I've been a trader, guys, ever since 1986. Well, in the beginning of my career, you know, I don't know if those, I know I'm dating myself. I don't know if those of you who were around at this time remember, there used to be monochrome screens, right? I spent my professional career staring at monochrome screens. It created a sensitivity issue with my eyes. So whenever I have lights around, I don't know if you see these lights, these are bright lights that I need. It really gives me migraines. If I sit in front of these lights for an hour, I really pay the price. This sort of deadens it a little bit. So, you know, almost everyone in my world knows this about me, but I know a lot of new people have sort of come on now, but that's the only reason. And sometimes I muster through it though. Sometimes I muster through it though, right? Yeah. Good man. Let's go. Is there a ceiling to adding a zero in every cycle? It's hard to predict that, to be honest with you. Ask another way. I think what you're saying is it possible for there to be a future cycle that doesn't add a zero? And I would have to say yes. But at 0.5% global adoption, half of 1% of the world has adopted Bitcoin. I don't see that anytime soon. So you can't start saying that something is on the tail end of something when only half of 1%'s in. How are things on the decline after half of 1%? Oh, Oliver, it's all downhill from here. We're half of 1% adoption. That's it, buddy. No, diminishing returns from here. Half of 1%. Oh, we've reached the threshold. We've reached the top. That is stupid. There's no slowing down of anything at half of 1%. There's no, oh, it's going to get worse from here at half of 1%. Guys, we haven't seen anything yet. It's half of 1%. We haven't seen anything yet. You are impressed? Just wait. Wait till the sweet spot of adoption hits. That 10 to 20% surge. It's going to be freaking stupefying. There's no downward anything at half of 1%. Oh, the child I gave birth to is at half of 1% of his life expectancy. It's downhill from here. You stupid. It was never downhill at half of 1% of iPhone adoption, electricity adoption, commercial air flight adoption, internet adoption, personal computer adoption, cell phone, smartphone adoption, automobile adoption, fire, and adoption never stops. Do you understand this, people? Do you understand that the adoption never stops because human beings, new human beings coming to Earth never stops? We're 8 billion now. It's estimated that we'll be north of 10 billion by 2050. That net of all deaths, 250,000 new human beings join us every single day. They're freaking in the waiting room. There's 250,000 new human beings in the waiting room waiting to join us tomorrow. There's 250 new human beings born today. These are future cell phone owners, future internet users, future utilizers of the global math protocol 0 through 9, and 100% of them will be Bitcoiners. So adoption will never stop, ever, ever. Commercial air flight started in 1901, 1903, depending upon what source you rely on. Today, that's 120 some odd years ago, 123 years ago, 22 years ago, commercial air flight was introduced. It's still being adopted. Only 1 in 4 human beings on Earth have ever been on a commercial air flight. The future for commercial air flight is bigger in front of it than behind it. And it's 120 fucking years old. And it's still a baby. Fire is still being adopted. 10,000 plus years ago, fire's still being adopted. Today, there are people who still don't have electricity in their house. Electricity is still being adopted. Cars, there are people without cars, never had a car. Cars are still being adopted. People have never had a personal computer, still being adopted. People have never had a smartphone, still being adopted. People have never had touched the internet, still being adopted. And on top of new human beings joining us every day at the rate of 250,000 per day. Come on, guys. There's 250,000 new people coming after your Bitcoin. And on top of the 8 billion that's not even in yet. There's 10 billion there's going to be 10 billion human beings competing for your Bitcoin by the year 2050. My God. What you hold will only increasingly become valuable, more valuable per human being every single second of the day because new human beings are born. You don't sell that unless you're just intellectually challenged. I get that. High level quantum computers to serve Bitcoin. I hear a lot about this, and I am not in agreement with some of the things I believe that are floating around out there. I'm not saying it's a zero issue. What I'm saying is that, first of all, it is so far in front of us that stop thinking about things that your grandkids might have to worry about and just make sure your grandkids are okay by stacking harder now. Stop being deflected and distracted from this bullshit. It's just it's a freaking distraction away from what you should be doing right now in your life. Yeah, but Oliver, what about in the year 2500? Dude, can we just worry about Tuesday? Did you stack today? So that's the first thing. Second thing is we have the capability already to protect against quantum computing. It's just not that much of an issue right now. We've got other shit to focus on. And, I've written several articles on this. I'll be happy to repost them again for you. I'll do that today so you can read through those things. But guys, it would take just a stupefying amount of these quantum computers today to even remotely have a chance at being troublesome. It's just physically impossible right now. All right. Oliver, you're amazing. Thank you very much. You are too. All right. Oh, good question here. I like this. Oliver, artificial general intelligence is expected to arrive by 2030. Do you believe this be explosive for Bitcoin in a good way? Yes, because it ties into exactly what I was explaining about population growth, right? So there's 250,000 net of deaths, guys. This is net of daily deaths. 250,000. So there's more births than 250,000. It's just that the deaths that cancel out some of those births, and the net number left on average is about 250,000 new human beings come to Earth or become human beings every single day forever. It is estimated that we are at 8 billion now. People living on Earth by 2050 will be north of 10 billion. And this will never stop. Population growth will never stop. Now, add on top of that it's not just human growth that we have to contend with. We have to contend with a new, a digital entity, because our lives are being more and more sucked into a new frontier. This digital frontier, this new world that more and more of our lives are being sucked into. Our photos are in the digital world today. Our movies are in the digital world today. Our music is in the digital world today. All of our mail is in the digital world today. Do you understand? Our switchboard operators are in the digital world today. Our books are in the digital world today. Our education is in the digital world today. Our information is in the digital world today. Everything is in the digital world today. In this new world, there are other beings in addition to human beings. Human beings are being drawn there, but there are other beings there. Let's call them AI beings. These beings will compete for Bitcoin. You understand? Every single AI process will have a Bitcoin wallet, every single one. And the money that they will demand is not melting ice cubes. They will demand Bitcoin. Every single AI will demand Bitcoin for its processes. So let me give you an example of an AI system that will require Bitcoin. Let's say this AI system that's been built gets something that used to take a long time to accomplish. It gets it accomplished in a second and a half, right? But this process that this specific AI that was created to do, this process takes 14 steps. So it goes through a 14-step process to accomplish in a second and a half what used to take a long time, right? The seventh step in that 14th process requires something else from another AI. So this AI needs a process that another AI does, but it has to give compensation or value for that process. So both of them have a Lightning wallet in an instant exchange for a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a penny. A few Satoshis for that 14-step process. Okay? Each AI will have to have Satoshis. Each AI will be paying other AI for its processes with Satoshis. And so you have humans to contend with, and you have AI to contend with for Bitcoin as well. Today, you can ask AI, what's the best money? It's going to tell you Bitcoin. You can ask, can Bitcoin be destroyed? It'll tell you, no, it can't be destroyed. AI knows more about Bitcoin than you do. So if you ask it, it is going to, if it's going to receive payment and AI is going to demand Bitcoin, it's not going to demand dollars or pennies. And you can't subdivide pennies. So in the future, AI will drive utilization of Satoshis. It'll drive every aspect of Bitcoin, and it'll make it a lot more scarce because these AIs will accumulate Bitcoin and rarely let them go between each other. So you'll have a chunk of Bitcoin only vacillating between the other race, not our race, the AI race. Now, one can say, well, those processes are owned by human beings. Maybe. All right. We'll see. Do you think that there will be unlimited apps built on Bitcoin similar to apps on the iPhone? Well, yeah, just think about the internet. Remember when the internet used to be a fad? It was called a fad. Same thing with Bitcoin. Remember when people said, oh, the internet, it's used for basically porn and criminals. Same thing for Bitcoin. Remember when we couldn't even imagine how the internet could ever go just beyond being email? We never thought music could ever reach the internet. It did. We never thought we could stream a movie. We never thought we could stream live. We never thought we could broadcast a concert. I mean, and it's still in its infancy. It is incalculable how the internet of money is going to be used, because that's bigger than the internet of information and knowledge. So the first internet we had was the internet of information and knowledge. The second internet is the bigger one. It's the part that the internet of information and knowledge could not touch. And it is the money. Money is the biggest component in the world. Value, human value. So now we have the internet of human value, and which will ultimately become the internet also of AI value and every value. It is truly the biggest thing in the entire human experience. So much so that we can't even fathom today its use cases. The same way no one could fathom the use cases of the internet in 1994. So it was impossible. Again, we don't have to know. We just have to be directionally right. A lot more. Oliver, what do you think about the future price? A lot more. You don't have to have a price. I mean, I gave you one to focus on, but you don't really have to. A lot more. What's the use case, future use cases of Bitcoin? A lot more. What's the exchange rate in the future? A lot more. What's the hash rate? A lot more. What do you think about the political scene accepting Bitcoin? A lot more. What do you think about countries adopting Bitcoin? A lot more. Just everything a lot more. Just be directionally correct and you're going to be good. All right, guys. That's it. You've got my long-term 20% Bitcoin capture model. All right. Use it. Keep that $8.6 million number in mind, people. It'll guide you. It'll prevent you from being a freaking idiot. Help you make better decisions. All right. Your Bitcoin value today, if you got one Bitcoin, I need you thinking that's $8.6 million of value. It's coming to me. Don't let that go. All right. Go to work, guys. Go to work. Stack harder. Boom. Boom.